What's up, everyone, and happy Thursday. The market was a little bit wild today, but ended up closing in the green. In today's episode, we're going to go over some important things to know about, some great setups, and some other crazy things that are approaching the market very quickly. For those of you who don't know, we are heading into the Santa rally time of the year that is, statistically speaking, the highest probability time of the entire year for the stock market to rise. So in this video, we're also going to talk right about that because technically speaking, the Santa rally starts tomorrow. So we have a great video today. And with that being said, Tom, let's not waste any more time and let's get right into it.
Yeah, Mike, a lot of these stocks actually recovered up very well today. We had a nice recovery coming off of that. I'm not going to call it like a flash crash necessarily, but, there was a big intraday sell-off yesterday, and we saw that great recovery coming in today, and we're sitting right back around recent support / resistance now. Once support breaks, what does that become? Resistance. So I'm going to watch 473 and 473.50 super closely. There's been a ton of bounces right at this level over the past few weeks. So, Mike, the big question for tomorrow is the market going to hit these resistances and start to fall back down and continue some of that bad selling pressure, or are we going to start to head back up towards recent highs and maybe even all-time highs? So we're right there. And you know what, Mike? That Santa rally stuff you were talking about is extremely interesting, and it starts tomorrow. This is the 7 best days in the stock market, guys. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that.
Exactly. So for those of you who don't know, basically the way the quote-unquote Santa rally works is it takes the last 5 days of the year and it goes 2 days into the new year. So basically, technically speaking, the Santa rally would start tomorrow, Friday, December 22nd, and it would theoretically end on Wednesday, January 3rd. So basically, this 7-day stretch is the best time of the year for the stock market to rise. There's a 79.5% chance, historically speaking, that the stock market rises during this time of the year, and then on average, when it does rise, it increases by around 1.3%, which is a pretty decent amount for the S&P 500. But either way, we're coming into a highly anticipated part of the year, and it's going to be an exciting end to 2023.
It really is, Mike. And, we keep seeing the stock market right now. It's sitting right at these recent highs of the year. I mean, if this Santa rally really does continue, that'll probably push us up to around those all-time highs. I mean, it would have to, right? Because there's really nowhere else for the market to go after it breaks this recent high close to 476. The all-time high is just under 480. You might as well just say it is right at 480. So we'll have to keep the S&P or the SPY on watch. Of course, the S&P 500 overall as well. And Mike, we keep talking about these other key stocks being at big resistances too, like Apple sitting right around $200. Nvidia is sitting right around $500, and they've been rejecting. So we're going to see some of these stocks maybe start to make new highs as well.
Yeah, so we shall see. So while the Santa rally is, optimistic for the market and relatively bullish, it's still not all sunshine and rainbows. Basically, the past 36 trading days have been one of the best stretches for the market in a very long time. To be more specific, over like the past 30 years, basically the rally we've seen lately has been one of the greatest rallies. And like I said, over 30 years, the market has popped up by 16%. And looking back throughout history, some of the more notable times when the market has rallied like this were like the COVID recovery days and even some of the recovery days in like 2008 and 2009. So basically what this is telling us is like, hey, the market might have recovered a little bit too much too quickly. So, keep that in mind going into the end of the year as well.
That is a big thing to worry about right now. And whenever we see that market, it's around those all-time highs, and it's around that double top going back to 2021 and the early days of 2022. And if we start to see the market reject off that double top, it's going to be pretty rough. And if we're being realistic here, I don't know about you, Mike, but this move with the S&P 500, now I'll say this, like the overall move this year was pretty choppy, right? But over these past 37 days, this is a very parabolic move to the upside. I mean, that is just one of the best uptrends I've seen with SPY in a long time. Now, look, like, of course, like, it was great during this. Like, this was a great uptrend, too, to start the year off. But it was more choppy, right? More of, like, what you would expect. You don't usually expect a breakout of this magnitude. And that chart that Mike showed us here with 36 days is a really good point to that. So just be very careful, because whenever you get huge parabolic moves up, you usually get some type of parabolic move down at some point.
So here's the way I look at it going into the end of the year and the beginning of 2024. If we look at SPY pretty closely right now, especially on an intraday basis, we can see that for the most part, it has been inching higher, right? And that's something that should be expected because, I mean, we're talking about the S&P 500 here. And, of course, the market has been pretty bullish lately. But when you look at some of the recent downturns, just like the downturn from yesterday, when that selling pressure comes into play, it comes in pretty hard. You know what I mean? And like these, I don't want to say crashes, but these pullbacks have been pretty violent and pretty crazy, right? So basically, if we get back to some of these recent lows, maybe around like 468, maybe 467.50, and we're around that area and like the market's actually moving with some decent momentum, I can definitely see the sell-off getting a lot worse, right? And that doesn't mean it's the end of the world by any means, but it would bring in a lot more selling pressure. At the same time, if we see the market hold up in a strong way and move just like it did today, and especially it did at the end of the day, then I think the market can do just fine and it could have a nice, happy end to the year, right? But it all depends on, how the price action actually plays out. Because it's like, if people start panicking and trying to take profits right before the end of the year, that can make things go really crazy really quickly. But at the same time, if everything holds up and everything's smooth sailing, then Santa can have a nice end to the year.
And Mike, I actually saw some news over the weekend. Well, not over the weekend, over the past couple days with Jim Cramer that actually gives me some hope with the Santa rally, Mike. Let's go ahead and play this video real quick.
With the exception of Tesla, which I believe will struggle next year as the bloom is off the electric rose. Yeah, we nailed it. We nailed it for you.
As you guys can see here, Kramer's obviously thinking that Tesla will struggle next year. I don't know if that means he thinks they'll end up red or what exactly that means. I would definitely guess that that's what he's talking about. But Mike, going back to the chart, we go over to Tesla. It's a big stock in the market, right? It's been also recovering up pretty well, especially over the past 37 days, like with the overall market, and starting to run into some pretty stiff resistance and a pretty big trend line. So I don't know. A lot of people are thinking Tesla could continue, but anytime that Kramer says that something's going to struggle, he's tempting me to buy some Tesla here, Mike, and Tesla's pretty high right now.
Every single Tesla shareholder should give a shout out to Jim Cramer for that video segment, right? It's going to be a fantastic 2024 for Tesla. Watch it happen, right? But either way, Tesla has been kind of holding its ground pretty well over the past couple weeks. And, that 260 level is giant for this company.
It really is, Mike. We've been talking about that a lot over the past couple days, and guess what? The stock has done nothing but go down since we talked about 260. And now I can sit here and look at Bookmap. What are the next resistances now that we're down a significant amount from 260? Overhead, there's a lot of shares stacking up at 255 and 256, as you guys can see on the chart here in this dark red, and you can see the amount of shares sitting here in after hours right now at that 255 level. When the market's open, there is a lot more shares sitting in there. If we drag this over a little bit, you'll see that this will change and it'll go to an insane number here, like 100,000 shares at 255. So just be aware, 255 is a next major resistance that we need to watch for Tesla over the next couple days. But I don't know, Mike, with what Kramer said, maybe we'll end up breaking it.
We shall see, but over the past couple of days, we've been talking about that 260 level a lot with Tesla, and as you guys already know, we've been using Bookmap to do that. Basically, what Bookmap allows you to do is see behind the scenes exactly where the buyers and sellers are at for basically any stock. It's a great tool for short-term trading. If you want to try it out, check out that first link in the description and the comments down below. I have a feeling once you try it out, you'll never trade without it. It's pretty awesome, and you will save if you use the link down below. But definitely check it out. And with that being said, Tom, we do have some economic data releasing tomorrow for the stock market. What's on the schedule?
Yeah, tomorrow is a huge day with the data, guys. At 8:30 a.m., 1 hour before the market opens, we're going to get core PCE numbers coming out along with personal income and personal spending data. This is going to be huge data. The Feds look at this very, very carefully. You can argue all day about like what data points the Feds look at more, right? Obviously, inflation's probably the biggest one right now. But looking at this, I mean, personal income and personal spending is also going to be very, very important. So be ready 1 hour before the market opens. We could see the market shoot up or shoot down based off of this. And with us running up into around recent resistance, Mike, it definitely has me a little bit worried that, we could see a pretty big rejection if this news is negative.
Yep, so we shall see. The good thing is that most of the data will release before the market even opens. There is some consumer sentiment data releasing like 30 minutes after the market opens, but it's not like the craziest thing ever. But yeah, good stuff all around. And with that being said, Tom, let's get right into some setups for tomorrow. One stock I'm watching very closely is BABA, and it's to the upside. So this stock, as well as a couple other Chinese stocks, have been rallying in a pretty decent way over the past couple weeks, and it's starting to move with some good momentum. The stock was up 4% on the day, and that's especially good on a day where most other stocks were relatively choppy. So either way, going into tomorrow, I will have some pretty close eyes on this one to the upside. But again, we want to see like good volume coming into play, and we want to see like the same sort of price action that we saw today with this one.
Yeah, there was some great momentum above those recent highs, and I think tomorrow it could definitely continue up. These China stocks, they did not care about that news with Taiwan the other day or yesterday, did they, Mike? I mean, they really rallied up today on a day where I thought they might actually start to go down a little bit. But hey, the China stocks have a mind of their own, and that's why they're so cool sometimes. With my next play, I'm going with Citigroup. We talked about this one a lot, and it actually dipped down a little bit the past couple days. But there's a big support at $50. I'm actually going to look for $50 to hold up. Early in the morning, I'm going to look for this stock to start to continue on its uptrend. If it breaks above like $50.70 early on, then I think we could get into some calls for at open tomorrow. So I'll have my eyes on the banks as they're starting to base off some key supports here.
Sounds good. Another stock I'm watching pretty closely is Netflix, and it's actually to the downside. So I talked about this same exact setup in yesterday's video, and Netflix was like relatively weak today, but it didn't really fall too much. Like it fell a little bit, but definitely not enough, right? So either way, looking at Netflix right now, they are at some gigantic resistance right around this $500 level. At the same time, this stock is really, really overbought, as the stock went from like $170 a share all the way up to basically $500, since the middle of like 2022. So it has been booming to the upside, and all of this is happening at a time where the market itself is just, it's slowing down a little bit, right? It's showing some signs of it at least, looking at yesterday's price action. So either way, I like the setup to the downside in the short term, and I especially like the risk reward that is presented here because the stock is at like $492 right now. You can put your stop loss right around 500, and like that's like the worst case scenario. And then like in the event the trade does end up working out, you can basically look for like a first take profit around like 470. You know what I mean? So it's like a great risk reward setup in the short term.
It really is, Mike. And a lot of technical traders out there might even say that this almost looks like a bit of a head and shoulders type of pattern. It almost is setting up that way. And with the way that these supports or the way the resistances are starting to hold up here, I will definitely be looking at it to the downside as well. And with my next play, I'm looking at Pfizer to the upside. Pfizer's one of those healthcare stocks. It started to recover up quite a bit this week, and they're right around recent highs, right around 28.30, 28.35. So if we break that high of day today around 28.35, then go ahead and look at more calls tomorrow on Pfizer. But I will say, though, Mike, I am watching your Netflix play very closely, and I almost wanted to call out like UVXY or SPXS today because it just seems like all these major stocks, even SPY itself, ran up today right back into recent resistance. So we're going to have a tough test tomorrow on a lot of these stocks.
No doubt. And I think the biggest thing, just like we said in Sunday night's video, is being able to adapt. Just looking at the market over the past couple of days, we saw a lot of good bullish price action, but we also saw a good amount of bearish price action too. So it's like, being able to adapt to the current flows and sentiment and price action at the time is what will truly allow, you to best be able to navigate the current market conditions, and we're heading into a very exciting part of the year. So I'm pumped up. You guys should be as well. This is a great time of the year, and with that being said, Tom, let's get right into the momentum plays for today. With the first one, we have Apple, and it's actually to the downside.
I was actually looking at Apple to the downside as well, and they're kind of hitting right off resistance. So if they're able to break under intraday support today, right around 194.30, then I'll look at puts tomorrow, and we're going to really have to see these rejections off these resistances.
All right, with the next one, we have Zoom to the upside.
Zoom's a nice one here. I've been loving their daily chart. Nice recovery today. If they break above 72.10, then go ahead and look at calls just above this 72 resistance.
All right, and then with the last one, we have AMD for both directions.
AMD, one of my favorite stocks. This thing has actually been outperforming or, doing pretty well the past couple days. I've been surprised, but if they break above 140, I'll go ahead and look at calls. That is a major resistance on AMD. If they fall back under 138.50, then look at puts. That's a pretty big support, and I would think if they broke there could be some significant price action.
Good stuff. So we have that downside level on AMD. If it breaks below that, we're watching it to the downside. We have the upside level as well. If it breaks above it, we're watching it to the upside. And then don't forget about the upside level on Zoom, and then the downside level on Apple. These momentum trades are only plays if they break the levels Tom listed. But with that being said, Tom, let's get right into today's $5.97 million big money trade of the day. And today we are looking at ticker symbol CF. So long story short, we saw, you can call it a $6 million trade on the CF 85 strike call options that expire on May 17th of 2024. What's very unique and interesting about this setup, and is something that's extremely rare, is that the big money traded these 85 strike calls, but they also bought a bunch of calls at the $87.50 strike, as well as the 90 strike, all for the same expiration. So, this is very rare, and they're putting a whole lot of money into this trade as well. The stock itself has been doing, fine over the past couple weeks and months, and today some phenomenal price action came in the middle of the day. So either way, I'm going to watch this stock very, very closely over the next couple of weeks and months. It has a good amount of time to it, so I would not be surprised if it takes a little bit of time to play out. But again, this is a setup that is very rare, and I'm going to watch it close.
Yeah, and even on a technical setup, I'm loving this support in the short term right here around 72 to 72.50. This stock has bounced majorly off of this level a few times, and the last time it hit here, it had some fantastic price action back up, and it's looking like it's starting that once again. So I like the trade, and I think it could go a lot higher. That is actually pretty cool to see the big money getting in at all those different strikes. Now, here's what I'll say, Mike. Does the 5.9 million account for all the strikes or just this one?
Just this one, which is even crazier.
That is pretty nuts. That is a lot of money going into this one, guys. So keep your eyes on CF. That is a great move back up. And you know what I actually like about this? I mean, I know this is a little bit far away, but this 72 support's pretty big. You could probably have a stop loss down there. Now, obviously, on the options, that might be way too high percentage on a percentage basis, but you can watch the price action and use that as support. Maybe even pick up some more if it starts to dip down a little bit or something like that.
Exactly. And if you do decide to follow this play, the main rule is that you have to give it time. Like, the big money is buying all the way out to May of 2024. Like, if you think you're just going to pop in this trade and like hold it for a week, then you're mistaken, because that's not how it's supposed to, be followed. If you decide to follow it, you have to give it time, and the same thing applies to all other big money trades. But yeah, it should be an interesting one, and I'll have some close eyes on it going forward. Tom, do you have any other thoughts heading into tomorrow, which, at least historically speaking, has been the start of the Santa rally?
I know, right? And, my first thought is all in Tesla. That's my very first thought. That's the first thing I'm thinking here. I'm going to really have my eyes on this 255 resistance. If we're able to break that, maybe we'll head back up to, 258, 260, something along those lines. There's so many stocks at major resistances, guys. It's going to be important to be adaptable tomorrow. If these resistances do not break, there's going to be a possible, pullback again. And I just don't want people to be, blindly running into calls in the morning if you start to see SPY rejecting. Be very careful at these resistance points, and just keep in mind the stock market is around an all-time high, and it's almost double topping. Like, if we go out to a weekly on the SPY, I actually have some arrows drawn up there at the very top, all-time high around 480. If this is a true double top, we'll see some pretty significant price action. But Mike, just look at how flat the market was last time. We might just see it chop around up here for 3 weeks. That could be totally in the cards. But come on, Santa, I hope that they bring us some good action.
There we go. Yeah, so the past couple of weeks have been phenomenal for the stock market, and I think that, the next couple of weeks will be filled with a bunch of great opportunities as well. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure to absolutely demolish that subscribe button. If you do, you'll see our videos recommended to you more often. It takes a lot of time to make these videos. We go through a bunch of different data every single day and a bunch of different charts to, make these videos something that, you can watch for like 20 minutes or so, and, you'll get all the information you could possibly need about the market. You also get access to cool charts and statistics like the Santa rally we talked about earlier, the 36 trading day stats, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So join the Stocked Up crew, subscribe down below, and you'll see our videos more often. And besides that, let's have an amazing end to the week. Thanks for watching.